So are you looking for the most authentic cannabis smelling fragrance? Well, if you are, Fragrance du Bois Cannabis Blue is the fragrance for you. Hey, what's going on guys? Hunter here and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, what I do is I make fragrance related content. So if you love fragrances, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And also be sure to follow my fragrance Instagram page where I have been posting daily content. So definitely go ahead and check that out. But today guys, we are going to be reviewing Cannabis Blue by the House of Fragrance du Bois, which I gotta say, man, Fragrance du Bois is definitely by far one of my favorite niche houses. I have so much respect for these guys. They use so much naturals, especially with their ouds and stuff like that. And their quality is just top tier. Now, Cannabis Blue, I gotta say, is definitely my most daring from the house. And I do own 4, including Cannabis Intense, which is nowhere near as daring as Cannabis Blue. Which I do think that this one probably should have been called Cannabis Intense because of that cannabis note in here. It does smell like someone is smoking weed, and this is a fragrance you're not going to want to wear to work or anywhere where you might get in trouble, because that is how authentic and natural this fragrance actually smells. But before we go ahead and talk about this, I do want to go over some information about Cannabis Blue now. I also do want to mention really quick that this fragrance was actually sent out for review by the guys over at Fragrance du Bois, so shout out to them. I'll leave their link down below where you'll be able to purchase Cannabis Blue or any other fragrance from the entire collection, and they're definitely worth checking out. So for the release date of Cannabis Blue, it was actually launched alongside Cannabis Intense back in 2020, so at the time of this recording, it is only a few years old, so it is fairly new. Now, for the retail price, they only come in the 100 ml bottle size, as you see I have in hand, and it's going to retail you at $349, which will definitely make it, obviously in the niche realm of things, it is pretty pricey. But when you look at it compared to like some Tom Fords and stuff like that, it is actually cheaper than some Tom Fords. And trust me when I tell you guys, the quality of this stuff compared to some Tom Fords is far above in the quality aspect, and especially with the packaging and presentation, which I'll show you in a few, is second to none. So the perfumer behind Cannabis Blue is actually Christian Provenzano. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably butchering that, but he's actually a perfumer that has created a lot of fragrances for a ton of niche companies, such as obviously Fragrance du Bois. He's created stuff for By Kilian, Habibi New York, Penhaligon. So a lot of like higher end fragrance houses he is the nose behind. So yeah, I guess he is a trusted nose, especially if he created this gem right here as well. But with all the information out of the way, let's go ahead and look at the packaging and presentation you will get with Cannabis Blue. So taking a look at this iconic Fragrance du Bois box, which is pretty much the box you're going to get with all of their products. Obviously on the front, you have their pattern, their Fragrance du Bois logo across the entire box. Pure oud, pure luxury, because they stand by that, and they actually farm their own in-house natural oud, which is awesome. Then on the bottom, the same thing. On the back, you do have some of your information. Cannabis Blue, 100 ml bottle, of course, your barcode and batch code to authenticate your product and see when it was actually produced. Now, you actually open the top like so, and you are greeted with a velvet box. Now, we'll take a look at this now. Just look at this box, guys. This just speaks luxury right here. Of course, it's wrapped in this like kind of like black material, and of course, you have the gold logo right there with the emblem. And then when you pop the top, you are greeted to this beautiful red velvet housing where your fragrance would actually lie. And of course, you have a Fragrance du Bois pamphlet right there that just authenticates your purchase and gives you some information. And what's nice about this, you can actually take this out and actually use it like as a jewelry box, which is cool. So yeah, it actually is pretty convenient. It does look absolutely incredible. Now let's go ahead and look at the bottle of Cannabis Blue now. So taking a look at this bottle, guys, of course it is in this nice like black and gold colorway. Of course, Fragrance du Bois Cannabis Blue, it says parfum. Even though it is actually an eau de parfum, I think that's just a naming tactic. On the top, you have the logo with some black Swarovski crystals around the entire golden cap, which looks great. On the bottom, you do have some of your information, of course. On the back, it does say an original perfume by Fragrance du Bois, born in nature, crafted in France. I just love that kind of naming. And even behind the plaque, you do see it's kind of stamped there. So yeah, very high attention to detail with this. And the cap does actually sit in very snugly. Nothing inside the cap, but the cap is weighted, it is metal, it might even be gold plated, I'm not sure. And then of course you have your atomizer right there. But all in all, guys, one of my favorite packaging and presentation out of my entire collection. It is outstanding. In the top, you have grapefruit, eucalyptus, cardamom, elemi resin, and Szechuan pepper. In the middle, you have cannabis, nutmeg, and sage. In the base, you have oud, gaiac wood, patchouli, and cedar. Now, of course, looking at that note breakdown, that is an awesome note breakdown with the grapefruit, eucalyptus, cannabis, some oud in there, and some resins. Now, let's go and test out this atomizer, which, by the way, is an amazing atomizer. Take a look at this. It is pressurized, guys, one of the best atomizers I've ever used. Let's put that to the side and see what I get on initial spray of cannabis blue. Wow, guys, so spraying this fragrance in my room, it actually smells like somebody is honestly smoking weed, which, by the way, I don't smoke weed. I don't condone it either, but I have been around people that have before, so I am very familiar with that smell. And man, this is just so on point to what they're actually trying to capture with the cannabis note. In the top, you do get that very herbal green cannabis note that is very prominent, especially on an initial spray. Alongside that, you do get a grapefruit and eucalyptus note as well, which eucalyptus is actually used a lot in like candles and fragrances to like bring relaxation and stuff like that. And yeah, you do get a big dose of the eucalyptus. It's mostly like the grapefruit, eucalyptus, and that cannabis note that I'm getting mostly on a first spray of this stuff. But I gotta say, guys, this is definitely one of my most daring fragrances in my entire 200 plus collection. This is a fragrance that I would not wear to work or anywhere like that has rules against like smoking and stuff like that. Because if you do wear this one, people are gonna think that you just smoked weed before coming into work, or even if you get pulled over wearing this one by like a cop, he's gonna be like, you've been smoking weed, you smell like you've been smoking. So this is a fragrance that I look at like a piece of art, guys, that I only pull out like if I'm chilling at home, maybe very casually as well, if I'm just going out with friends or something like that. But I would never wear this to like to work, because take my word for it, guys, this does smell like weed. And there's a lot of cannabis fragrances that don't actually capture that smell, such as like Cannabis Intense doesn't, Hindu Kush by Mancera doesn't, Asamato's Black Afghano doesn't, but Cannabis Blue absolutely does. So if you love the smell of that, you're definitely gonna love Cannabis Blue. Now, I do actually kind of enjoy the herbal greenness of the note of cannabis. It does smell good. And since I don't smoke it or anything like that, I guess if I want to smell that, I got this bottle right here. Yeah, it's just so good, guys. Very, very good. Obviously, it is listed like oud in the base of this. Now, I don't know if Fragrance du Bois just includes a little bit of their natural oud in like all of their creations or what, but I do get a tiny bit of like a woody, maybe a little bit of barnyardy oud in the very, very base of this stuff. But it's not dominant, it doesn't really stick out or anything like that. This is not an oud-based fragrance by any means, but I think they might just include some of that natural oud in all of their creations, like a signature kind of touch, which I think is cool. But also in the dry down, you do get that patchouli, which does work awesome alongside the cannabis, both very green, herbal notes, and that just brings a little bit more of an earthy touch to it as well. Now on the top, you do also have the cardamom and the Szechuan pepper, which does bring a nice kind of spiciness alongside the grapefruit, eucalyptus, and the cannabis. And then it dries down and become very like woody and earthy. But I'm telling you guys, that cannabis does actually last the entire length of this fragrance. It does come across a little bit sour like cannabis does, but all in all, man, by far the best cannabis fragrance that I can recommend anybody that I've ever got my nose on, guys. And if you're looking for a cannabis fragrance, despite the high price tag, it is 100% worth it, because this is exactly what you're looking for captured in a bottle of fragrance. But yeah, all in all, a very good cannabis dominant fragrance and the most natural smelling one. So for seasons that I would best recommend Cannabis Blue is definitely like the fall, spring, and even summer. You could pull it off. I would say fall, because it is kind of spicy. It has a sourness to it. And obviously like the slight oudy, woody base and the earthy patchouli, it definitely works in the fall, but it definitely also works in the spring and summer, because it's very bright, zingy from that cannabis, and also sour and a little bit citrusy from the grapefruit as well too. So yeah, the only season I would stick away from is the winter, because it's not really like dense. It's not extremely like a potent where it can just push through the winter cold. And there's a lot of better fragrances for the winter. Even though, I mean, if you just love to smell like cannabis, you could definitely use this as a signature scent. That's up to you, obviously, even though it is very daring. But I mean, it would work in the winter. Just the 3 best seasons that come to mind is fall, spring, and summer. So for gender, I think it's best for cannabis blue. Now, obviously the note of cannabis doesn't come across smelling feminine or smelling masculine. So I think it actually is very unisex. There's nothing that makes this lean one towards the other. If you just love the note of cannabis, you love the smell of it, you can rock this fragrance. Even if you're a female or you're a male, it'll work perfect on either or. Let's touch on performance really quick about cannabis blue. Now, from my testing, guys, this is one of the better performing fragrances from the house of Fragrance du Bois, at least from the 4 that I've tested. And I think that's because of how bright, sort of sharp and sour this fragrance comes across, obviously from that bergamot, the eucalyptus, and cannabis. And the opening is just very, very strong. And it just pushes off the skin very, very nicely and leaves an incredible scent sillage trail behind you as well when you're walking around. But it actually projects from my skin maybe around like 1.5 feet for a good up to 4 hours until it starts to settle down a little bit more. But you still pick it up throughout the day. And as far as longevity goes, I get around 10 hours of solid longevity until it turns into a complete scent skin and you have to pretty much put your nose up to your skin to actually get a whiff of the scent profile. Now, even though it is above average in the performance category, that's not really the best thing for a fragrance like this because, like I said, this is very daring, and when people smell this, they're gonna think that you're high or you got a bunch of weed on you or something like that. So I'm just telling you guys, if you get this fragrance or you own it, just be a little bit careful with the trigger of this stuff. Let's talk about age and occasions. I think it's best for this. Now for age, this is definitely on the mature side of things because obviously you smell like cannabis and I don't think you should be a teenager smelling like that. So it definitely is on the more mature side of things. I would say anyone probably like maybe 21 and up is the best for cannabis blue. Now for occasions, guys, like I said earlier, 100% a casual fragrance. This is not formal. This is not work appropriate or anything like that, which makes it a little bit less versatile. Especially for me, this is not a fragrance that I reach for a lot. Only when I'm in the mood for that smell and maybe I'm just chilling around the house and just for my own pleasure. But yeah, definitely on the casual side of things. If you're just chilling, maybe if you're hanging out with friends, if you're going out, possibly something like that is the best for cannabis blue. But that's gonna wrap up my review of the best cannabis fragrance money can buy, in my opinion, and that I've got my nose on so far. This is just too good, guys. So yeah, let me know down below if you have any experience with the house of Fragrance du Bois or cannabis blue in general. And if you want to catch my cannabis intense video review, I'll leave that linked as well, where I actually covered that, which by the way, that does not smell like anyone smoking weed or cannabis really. There is a note of cannabis in that, but nothing like cannabis blue. This is the fragrance you're gonna wanna look at if you want that smell. But leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. And I'll catch all you guys in the next upload. Take care, everybody.